Hello everyone, I've gotten to spend a little more time in the end game portion of Anthem. BioWare has been updating and posting a ton, so I wanted to take some time to follow up on my first impressions, talk about the end game and all of the updates that have been going out. BioWare has been addressing and patching the game rapid fire lately, which is partly why I haven't been discussing the game a whole lot on YouTube. It's tough to make videos when they're just going to be outdated in a day or two. One of the best things BioWare has done so far was to have Stronghold bosses give a guaranteed masterwork item for killing them, and for giving a guaranteed masterwork component at the end of a legendary contract. As you may or may not know, masterwork components are a huge part of breaking into comfortably doing GM1 level content. The gap between epic and masterwork components in terms of giving health and shields to your javelin is substantial. Through these changes, it is much easier to bridge the gap from level 30 and being in all epic gear to reliably doing GM1 level content, and dare I say actually having fun doing it. Legendary contracts give a reliable path to gearing up, and GM1 strongholds now don't feel completely worthless to run all the way through. These two changes alone have helped me gear up and actually have fun with the game now that I'm not getting one shot against literally everything that touches me. So, good job. But then, BioWare accidentally did something for their game that made it more fun on top of that. They increased the loot drop rates across the board for basically everything. Masterworks were dropping a lot, people were getting enough stuff to where they could start actually making builds. You could gear up multiple javelins quickly, it was great. And then like a day later, this change was reverted because it wasn't supposed to happen. Some of you may know a little indie title that goes by the name of Diablo 3. To say that Diablo 3 had a rough launch would be an understatement. Loot was boring, cool items dropped incredibly rarely, and overall it was just not an enjoyable loot hunt game. Loot 2.0 was an update to the game that revamped a lot of the loot system. Better affixes for gear, so a barbarian wouldn't find witch doctor stats or perks. More legendaries and more set items, increased drop rates for those items, and a lot more. Diablo and Anthem are pretty similar in that not only are you hunting for those top-end items, you're searching for the perfect role or set of stats on those items so that you can make special builds. And with so many inscriptions and stat rolls available, the odds of getting the perfect one to drop are really low, which is okay. But when the odds of actually getting one of those items with those rarities to drop is also very low, it makes the gearing process frustrating because you're just trying to get the items to drop in the first place. Legendary items are also lacking in the excitement department because while they're better than masterwork items, it's only by a little bit, and they're basically replicas of masterwork items with slightly boosted stats. The community loved this accidental loot change and have been asking BioWare to revert things back to it. I have a lot of confidence that BioWare will very soon have their Loot 2.0 experience because Anthem is in almost the exact same situation as Diablo 3 was. And as a matter of fact, as I was writing this video, the following update about item inscriptions was posted on Reddit, with this update going live either on February 28th or March 1st. So really soon, if not already. Inscriptions, aka those random rolls that show up on all of your items, are being organized a bit more. For example, before this update, a machine pistol could roll an assault rifle bonus. This should no longer be the case. Now, said machine pistol could roll something like plus fire damage, since fire damage is a javelin-related inscription, but that's okay. In case you don't know, the gear icon on an inscription is for the weapon specifically, and the javelin icon is for your entire javelin. Next, white and green items will no longer drop from level 30 drop tables. Okay, blues and epics are still pretty useless outside of their embers, but I guess you do need to keep them around for those embers. Okay, fine. And masterwork crafting now requires 15 Masterwork Ember instead of 25. So you can craft more and craft better items with this inscription change. So we're not completely in Loot 2.0 territory, but we're within the same universe, at least. The quality of individual item drops will be a bit better with the inscription changes, and crafting won't feel so useless now, both of which are good. But we don't know if the drop rates of Masterworks and Legendaries will shift up based on the removal of whites and greens. Hopefully it does. Running a GM1 Stronghold usually nets me 1 Masterwork, like what I ended up getting while recording this footage. Maybe 2 if I'm lucky, and that includes the one from the boss at the end. The most amount of Masterworks I've gotten in an activity is 3. Most of them have not been good rolls. I would say pretty much all of them have been very poorly rolled. And I've gotten 1 Legendary total. The fun of Anthem is going to be the fun of Diablo. Getting lots of items, and finally getting that perfect set of said items. Now that inscriptions will be a bit more optimized, this will hopefully enable the creation of more specific builds a little bit more. So again, BioWare, you're making some progress. Another big problem is that GM2 and GM3 are largely pointless right now because their increased difficulty does not match the increased reward. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this already in my first impressions, but I just want to bring it up again. They don't reward better items, just more of them. But right now, GM1 is just way more efficient to do. I can't imagine the heartbreak of not getting a Masterwork item out of a GM2 or GM3 level chest. Something needs to happen to these difficulties to make them more enticing to run, because otherwise, you're done with the end game at GM1 with the way things are right now. Fortunately, this has been addressed by BioWare, with Ben Irving, lead producer, saying, quote, "Looking into this, understand the problem space for sure," end quote. Otherwise, with regards to the end game, there just needs to be more stuff. 3 strongholds, one of which is just not run very often, and world events not so cleverly disguised as legendary contracts are all we have at the moment. When GM levels can be bumped up for an actual reason, maybe that'll help, but there just needs to be more activities in the game. I can only run Tyrant Mine so many times. Also, a quick throwaway thing, and I'm pretty sure BioWare has acknowledged this already, but defensive support abilities are almost completely worthless. Like, they don't scale, or feel like they don't scale. Please make them not worthless. Thank you. The day one patch did some good stuff. Fixed a few issues like loot not dropping when you're dead, being able to sprint in Fort Tarsus, stuff like that. They revamped the expedition menu a little bit, which organizes all of the activities a little bit better. Performance feels largely the same as a whole, maybe a little bit better. Loading screens are still numerous, and there's still a lot of work to be done. A lot of those things being extreme quality of life requests, revolving around making the game easier to understand. Stats page, inscription descriptions, things like that. Fortunately, that feedback has also been heard. So, are things a bit better compared to the launch on the 15th, and then again on the 22nd? Yeah, for sure. It's easier to gear up and get into GM level content, which means you can actually enjoy the gameplay aspect of the game, which means you'll be having some fun playing this game. But there's still plenty that needs to happen. Bug fixing, quick play is broken in a couple of ways. A lot of refinement is needed before the game is in a really good spot. The fact that BioWare continues to be responsive on Twitter and Reddit is really nice, and the fact that they've been making rapid-fire changes to the game instead of just stewing for days or weeks makes me a bit more hopeful than I was during my first impressions. But I just wanted to give an update on the whole endgame situation and my first impressions, since I haven't really been producing a whole lot of content for the game recently, since it's going through so many changes. I want to know what you guys think about Anthem. How you guys feeling about it now? We're, almost a week in. How you feeling? Let me know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.